Alison Vella is Quality and Practice Lead for Aspire for Life, based in Queensland. She's been a RAS Assessor since 2017 and has been involved, as Angie mentioned, in the pilot program and served as a Reablement mentor. She's done a lot of work in the space and is currently helping the department through the My Aged Care Training Reference Group to develop a training platform for assessors nationwide. Alison, we look forward to hearing your perspective.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending where you are sitting at the moment. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. This initiative is fantastic to have, this conversation going on and having the best part of a day assigned to talking about all things reablement, which is absolutely awesome. So I'm just going to share my screen now. Okay. So, talking from the assessor perspective, we're quite often the first port of call for somebody who has, an aged care journey that's about to take place. It was an absolute pleasure to be part of the government initiative back in 2019 and 2020, and I do absolutely. We worked very closely together, Angie and I, and the teams at that time. So I do believe she taught me a heck of a lot over that time. And the actual trial itself, which went for the best part of 18 months, was the start of my fascination on the topic of reablement, and quickly became my passion to understand it better and ensure everybody has opportunities available to them to live how they want to live each and every day. I would just like to begin with our acknowledgement. I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Yugambeh people as the traditional custodians of the land on which I am presenting from today on the Gold Coast, and elders both past and present. I recognise and respect their wisdom and continued connection to land, community, and culture. I also recognise those whose ongoing effort to protect and promote First Nations cultures will leave a lasting legacy for future elders and leaders. Okay, so at Aspire for Life, we currently work across 17 aged care planning regions in New South Wales and Queensland, with over 80 assessors in our internal team and also a team of subcontractors too. So we've got over 200 altogether. And my role oversees the practice and the way we do what we do, which very much incorporates our approach to reablement. So there's a lot of really exciting changes coming up to our industry over this year and next year and beyond that Nick Morgan talked about this morning. So it was really great to get that update from him this morning. We are working on a variety of training programs, etc. So there is a lot going on in our industry and everything that we're experiencing at the moment. So from the assessment perspective, as I said, we're quite often that first port of call for somebody on their journey through my aged care, and often the first people that might actually be sitting down and having a detailed conversation with somebody about what their current needs are. So it's our opportunity to have a really great conversation. It's all about getting to know the person and what's important to them. We might sometimes see clients multiple times. And as people are living longer, our client base is growing continuously. So some people we see multiple times, which is really fabulous. The lady in the picture there, she was actually my very first assessment client under the reablement trial. And I have remained in contact with her, done a couple of supplementary assessments over these years, and she continues to live a fabulous life, very active lady. You can see here the Aspire Wellness Wheel, which is a tool that our assessors use to understand what's important to the client, what gives their life meaning, how they approach their daily activities, and what are their goals. So again, we use that term goals quite a lot, particularly in our world, because the support plan is all around being goal-centred. The assessor uses this model to understand and document a holistic approach within the assessment tool and the support plan that we create with our clients. The whole of person approach to wellness allows assessors to understand each client's current situation, their circumstances, and create a specific outcome regarding what holistic wellness looks like for them across the 8 areas, which of course everybody would be pretty familiar with this: physical, social, spiritual, environmental, financial, occupational, emotional, and intellectual. All these other areas, alongside considering their physical health, all wrap up together to make for the full client story. And it's really important that we ask so many different questions to get that complete story, really get to know them as best we can in the limited time that we've got as well. All of these different areas make up the person and attribute to how they can live their best life. Where there's a deficit in one area, what can we consider to support them to improve that? Or can we counterbalance that with an improvement in another area? The assessment tool that we actually use currently is set up with the domains, as is the new tool that we'll be progressing to in the next couple of months. So the domains are sort of set in the tool that every assessor uses as well. So the model is sort of very much what we actually follow. We've got the ability to work with a lot of different service types and service providers, and it's really important for us to set the scene and create goals and a plan that's not only for the client, but for others that might be involved as well, whether that's their family, carer, friends, or the support workers, etc., that might be coming in, or even non-funded supports that might become involved in helping them to live their best life. Opening the areas of conversation to discuss positive living, focusing on what is important to the person, what do they appreciate in life, and what makes life worth living. Ensuring that although we go through the motions of the questions that sit in the assessment tool, it's really important though for us to focus on helping our clients to become motivated, find out what their current motivations are, and not promoting having things done for them. We've really worked hard to move away from that model, the dependency model, from quite a few years ago now. We've progressed quite a lot. Finding out a motivator for the person, and working on what their current capabilities are and building on that means the difference between identifying reablement and a good outcome, or just creating a plan with words that doesn't address the individual person's wants and desires. Sometimes it can be a really simple opportunity, and it doesn't always involve service referrals as well. An example I've got is of a lady that I saw a couple of years ago, whose daughter was at the assessment as well, and talked to how she'd become really sad for her mum because she'd stopped being so socially active. She used to go out with her girlfriends for coffee several times a week, and she'd noticed that mum was doing that not at all anymore. So when we talked it through at the assessment, it wasn't an interrogation, it was a beautiful conversation. It was because she had developed hand tremors from her Parkinson's. And she said, I ended up spilling more coffee than I drank, and I felt like I was just making a nuisance of myself, and it was embarrassing. So it's just easier not to go. So we continued the assessment and talked about a whole range of different things. And then her daughter had the great idea to, how about I get you one of those beautiful travel cups, Mum, with a lid on it. Everybody's using them these days. All of the workers that rush in and out, you'll see they've got their own travel mugs in their hand. So she did. She got her a beautiful one covered in her favourite flowers for Christmas. And when I called her a few weeks later, she was back to going out to coffee at least twice a week and feeling more connected again with her friends. And she had people to talk to that have known her for many, many years. So reconnecting that for her, all it took was sort of to have that conversation and allow her to be honest with how she was feeling and what was her area, what was the barrier, what was the thing that was scaring her the most. It's really crucial for us to use the right language, as Paul and Angie were just talking about before. What is the impact that we're leaving with that conversation? And then what are we putting in writing on that support plan? We talk to clients about promoting that independence and remaining involved in whatever activities they enjoy. How can we help them to build that confidence? Might be building relationships. We aim for really inspiring outcomes wherever we can. We actually work to the asking and not telling approach to gain a better understanding of the person. What are their challenges? Are they having any progress or lack of progress? And what are those goals? No goal is too small to encourage in an assessment. We were suddenly put to phone assessments back at the beginning of COVID. And for us at Aspire as well, it was actually right in the middle or coming towards the end of the Reablement trial where we had introduced the active assessment model to a large group of our assessors. So suddenly then being told, no, you can't go and see any clients, you have to do it by phone. We had to sort of actually all stop and think, okay, maybe I need to change the way I'm asking questions now, because it was the only method of getting the information was what you heard through the telephone. So we did a lot of work around that actually, and I think that was the time where our assessments quite largely changed. And even when we did get back to doing assessments face to face with clients, we were sort of asking a wider range of questions, which was fabulous. The factors, though, that we need to consider to create Reablement and then ensure it's successful is, looking at so many different things. So creating those SMART goals from the client's own feelings, capabilities, and wishes is a big key to success. Goals that have clear steps, talk out the strategy for the client and not make them too complicated or large. Those sorts of goals are going to be easier for the client and anyone working with them to help them to achieve those goals. This needs to be discussed, sometimes in a little detail with the person, and then recorded on their support plan to refer to. And again, sort of as Angie just said, the importance of the person very much being involved. It has to be their thoughts and feelings that go onto that paper, onto that plan. Having the right supports around them as well. Some people have carers, friends, family. So the example I just gave with the lady and her daughter, sort of the daughter just sort of put her hand up and said, oh, I'm going to assist by doing this for you, Mum, to get you back to doing something for yourself. So ensuring where we've got family or carers involved in an assessment, include them if they're the right supports and there are small mechanisms that they can do that's going to assist the client. We'll never put a client at risk or ask them to do something that they're unsure of or put in unrealistic expectations on a goal. And we know that the service providers that we work with also work to that ethos with every single client. So again, a super important factor for us. The best part of Reablement in our role as an assessor is the follow-up. Those calls that we get to make to check on somebody's progress or how they're generally going, they're absolute gold with what we do. Best part of our job. So imagine hearing somebody has not had another fall since your assessment because they were able to participate in the right learning, whether that's directly with a physiotherapist working with them or joining them up to the local falls prevention program. I had a gentleman one day when I called him back after that sort of situation, and his words have stuck with me forever. He said, "You have changed my life by introducing me to that class." What about a client that's made new friends with social connections? We keep sort of talking to these social connections. They are so, so important. Returning to social activities that they might be missing for whatever reason, if they've got lack of supports or can't access that anymore. Someone that can be back to doing things for themselves at home, back to doing tasks in the kitchen. An assessment with a lady one day, and she just really wanted to be able to help the family that she was living with do something in the kitchen each day. So we worked towards that as an outcome for her, which was absolutely beautiful. There are thousands of individual outcome stories around, and they're all absolutely fantastic. At the Spy for Life, we actually capture some other statistics from our team when they're recording the outcomes of a period of reablement. So in 2022 and 2023, we had over 10,700 clients under a period of reablement. And at the end of that time, not only had 70% of those clients either fully achieved or partially achieved their goal, but 52% of cases, there was a reduction in the need for addition of other services after the reablement. That was, from the positive impact from the assessment and the recommendations that were put in place. When the reablement was closed, it was reported as well that services in relation to the reablement goal were ceased at the completion of the 3 months in 38% of the cases. So we feel that these are really positive statistics and will help even a little with sustainability of services in Australia. And hopefully will allow the providers to work with many more clients and reach out and receive more outcomes. Hilary talked earlier to the challenge for services to do short-term clients, and this is something that we would really like to see some support for them around the best methods and ways to manage this, because it's going to have a huge impact. We often hear from assessors as well that most clients do have some sort of a positive change that they've agreed to. So it might not go in as an official goal, or they might not get the opportunity to hit that recommend a period of reablement button on their plan. So it may not be recorded as a statistic, but we hear the stories all the time. This client is going to do this now, or we've introduced this idea, and the client is keen to move ahead with it. As I mentioned earlier, we were thrilled to be asked to be part of that reablement trial back in 2019 and 2020, and were mentored by the team under Angie Slater, who presented just before me. So this involved using the active assessment model with our teams, or the show me model. It's about having a closer look at a person's capacity and then working on ways to improve that, build on that, or at least maintain it. The results of the trial did overwhelmingly show that assessors who took part mostly felt that they had a better connection with their clients, and the clients became more engaged and opened up. So much easier to identify reablement opportunities when you can observe someone in various parts of their home and seeing exactly how they manage a variety of tasks. Might involve a look at the client's bathroom and how they access the areas safely, how the kitchen is set up with easy access to common items. Seeing how they do things makes it easier to find those reablement opportunities. So and all of these pictures that I've used in my presentation are all actual clients of ours that have been through assessments, sometimes multiple assessments, and have been under a period of reablement, and all absolutely love the way that things developed for them. Absolutely everybody counts and has their own story, aspirations, motivations, needs and passions. It's a pleasure to conduct an assessment with someone who's lived their life their own way and have come to a point where support is now needed, and we can listen and assist them. The conversations we get to have are such an honour and a privilege. Our job is very much to unlock the potential in a person, make the assessment time count to understand who they are, what is important to them, and what really matters. Identifying what we can do to assist them to achieve their goals, have a better quality of life, or whether it's just giving them ideas, thoughts, and recommendations and watching them soar. Some areas that I'm passionate about are clients we see who are under palliative care and those who are living with dementia. It used to be a thought for some that it was not possible to create reablement for people in either of these situations. This is something that I challenge every single day. We have the privilege of supporting people who are coming to end of life, and are there for that conversation about their current needs and wants. We do have the ability to work with them on anything that they have some control over as well, and that may even be something not in relation to their health condition. I was involved in the film campaign in 2022 that looked into palliative options for many people and really awakened in me the importance of asking what is most important to you and allowing a person to investigate that. For a person living with dementia or a person caring for a loved one, there is more evidence now than ever before and more approaches that we can take to potentially bring in the right supports, whether this be through exercise, education, introducing new communication options, social connections, or allied health, who can provide those short and long-term solutions to the client and their carers. So clients living with dementia. This last one, very personal one of mine. This was my beautiful dad he spent his last few weeks of life in hospital. And I had the pleasure of being there every single day and working with his support team in the hospital. He had small goals all the time, and we worked together as a team to help him achieve even the tiniest of goals in those last few weeks, to give him a sense of control over even the smallest of things. So I had a great time working with the physio and the nurses and the OT. Reablement is the way forward and should be investigated and used to its full potential in an assessment, and to pave the way for others working with our clients in the future to make life even just a little bit better. So that's it from me. I will stop sharing my screen.
Fantastic, Alison, and I love the conclusion, a call to arms for all of us. There's been a couple of questions just come up in the chat, so I might go to those first. When you were have the slide up about the outcomes of the trial, how did your organisation record those statistics? Is it something that's able to be done on an online system, or did it have to be a manual?
Yeah, we've got our own bespoke online system called Neptune, that we use for our rostering of clients, to set up our staff's days. We record all of our incidents, compliments, complaint calls, anything like that in this system. So it's got quite a broad range of abilities, and one of those is, so the assessment is scheduled for the assessor. They put their outcome in after they've completed the assessment, and when we created it a few years ago, we put in for reablement those extra couple of questions. Did they need other service referrals after the period of reablement? Did it improve short-term options? Was the service able to be ceased now that the reablement has come to a close? So it was just something that we wanted to do. This was sort of just after the reablement trial that we were part of. My CEO just loves the statistics.
Very good. Anne Muldowney's just posted a question. Firstly, says thanks to you for the presentation, and observes some older people living with long-term disability have told OPAN that they feel excluded by the language of improving activities of daily living and reablement, as their permanent disability can't be changed. Could you comment on how you approach that?
Again, I think it comes down to taking the time to get to know the whole person and everything, and not just focusing on that one condition. Trying to find out sort of, what are the other aspects of their life that we can investigate, any sort of areas of improvement. So every case, of course, is different. Everybody has their own story. I've got 1,000 of them from people from all different walks of life. But yeah, it's about taking that individual approach to each person. We've got our set of questions in the tool, currently the NSAF, which soon will be the IAT. So it's our guide, but we can ask more prompting questions.
Yeah.
So when we see, particularly if it's face-to-face assessment, when we can see, their facial expression change, or something is causing distress when you're talking a topic, or is bringing them joy, investigate it.
Yeah.
Is that something that we can help them improve in, that's going to make quality of life better?
Yeah, and I guess the other observation to make is, don't spend all the time talking about the permanent disability that
Yeah.
that can't be shifted.
Exactly.
You need to explore it and the impact it has on people's lives, because that's an important way of understanding what sort of services they're going to need.
Exactly.
But you can pick up all sorts of other things about their life and find other places where they might have goals they wish to achieve, for example.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, one observation, which I think was put there slightly tongue in cheek, but is got some point to it, is this sounds like occupational therapy. To what extent is the reablement approach something that's specific to either OTs or physios and their workload? Or, as we touched on with Angie earlier, to what extent is it much broader and all of the staff can get involved in helping people?
Yeah, so I presume you're sort of talking about that active model where we sort of,
Yes.
start observing a heck of a lot more. I think it also, though, where it was mentioned, I think at the end of Angie's at the last one, that so many people don't get the opportunity to look at reablement or don't get those allied health supports that potentially they need because that was missed at the assessment. So, yeah, we absolutely don't do the jobs of OTs or physios, but just by having a look at the person's environment, we don't ask them to do anything that they're not doing. We just, watch them walk through their house if they're able to walk through their house, or just having a look from the doorway of the bathroom, even, how is it set up for your safety? We might sort of be thinking in the back of our head, yeah, we definitely need an OT in here to have a look at this. Or if somebody is, showing signs of pain as they're maneuvering around their house, how about we talk about possibly getting a physiotherapist to work with you? So we're not saying, oh, you should have rails on the wall in your shower or you need to have a four-wheel walker. We don't go to that level of conversation with the person because that's not our role and it's not our qualification. We're there as a RAS assessor, but if we can observe things and then go, all right, I'm thinking that I need to refer you on to an allied health professional that can open doors for you.
Great, thanks for that. I think our time is nearly up. There's one more just popped into the chat. The integrated assessment tool, from what we saw in the trial, takes an extremely clinical approach, very question heavy, and involves lots of supplementary tools. How do you feel it's worked? You've participated in the trial of it. Do you think it's gone a bit heavy on uh, the the tools side of things?
No, I think because the questions are nested in the tool, it's sort of only going to open those up when necessary. So they have taken on board all the feedback from last year. The IAT training will start fairly soon to get everybody familiar with it and practiced with it. And there's a new training module that everybody will have to do as well that will sort of unfold all of that for everybody. But I think, again, it still comes down to we don't just ask the questions in the tool. You can ask so many prompting questions around the different topics, and that's still going to help. And I love the fact that Nick said this morning that they're looking at actually introducing some prompts that'll pop up.
Yeah, that certainly sounds like a good step.
That will be perfect if that happens.
Another question's just come in from the perspective of CHSP social support group attendees. That the person finds that often their purpose or goal for attending doesn't shift. It was around socialization or something else. But considering the varied activities that groups provide and the mental and physical stimulation, is it okay to consider those goals as just ongoing, or you mentioned the SMART goals concept, and that obviously is time-limited goals are very important.
Yeah, so with the service provision, it's not always just that, okay, you'll only be doing the service for 3 months. or less under that short term, but the period of reablement is short term. So if we can contact the client after, say, 6 or 8 weeks and say, how's that new social group going? How often have you been? What have you been doing? Made some new friends? Then we can close out our period of reablement, but they still get to continue to enjoy that and keep benefiting from it from the long term. Yeah.
So
So it's about the SMART goal and how we sort of put that, what's a short-term achievement that we can hopefully get them through in that short term. If we've got a short-term service where they only need to come in once or twice to support the person, but some things here will be ongoing. So it's not always just short-term service as well.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Alison. That was very comprehensive, and we've got an idea of what goes on behind that screen of the assessment function a little more clearly. So thank you for that.